it's time for you to say what you usually say, to
Good
welcome.
morning and welcome.
But do you really want me to believe that that smile is genuine?
Good morning and welcome to Sunrise.
Sorry. Good morning.
He's in that mood this morning. You know that mood, the cocoa and cocoa mood. Welcome and thank you for joining us. I'm Alero Edu.
I'm Ayomakide. Good morning and welcome. One of the things that excites me this morning is that it's election day. I'm just hopeful. No, don't make your face like that. I'm just hopeful.
Oh.
Yes, because we've talked a lot about voter apathy. You know, people not wanting to go out for all the right and wrong reasons.
Yes,
Our votes will not count and all those things. But this is just one of those opportunities that people should just take and go vote. To a large extent, we still say that local governments are not as effective as they are, perhaps because we haven't recruited the right persons to work in those places. So you do not get the kind of government you want at that level, and you can't hold them to ransom simply because you didn't employ them.
True.
So this is an opportunity we have for us to go and employ the right caliber of people that we want.
And the good news is I am on a few group platforms and
powerful people.
And I was pleased to see posts saying this is your chance to make your vote count. You have a say, and what you have to say makes a difference. Carry your household, your children, your wife, your husband, all of you go out and vote. Make the difference. And I'm saying, okay, they posted it. Are people going to do as they have said?
Exactly. So to a large extent, many people who complain don't vote.
True.
And even some who, we just keep saying, well, there's nothing we're going to do. Look, INEC has told us over and over again that for the past few elections that they have had, they have been doing electronic transmission just to test the waters for a global one, a national one. I don't know if the State Independent Electoral Commission is going to do the same.
It's on the same page
for this election, but it's just the minimum we can do is to play our part. We'll be giving you some updates on that as the day unfolds, just so our correspondents are already all over the city of Lagos.
The Olympics opened yesterday. Well, some events had started before then. I'm sure you're a football person, so you would have been watching all the football before yesterday.
I prefer Omolere. Go on, you were saying something.
Yes, the opening ceremony took place yesterday, and there are about 11,000 athletes in Tokyo.
60 of them are Nigerians.
60 of them are Nigerians. But I must say that when Nigeria came on yesterday, it was a bit of a low for me, because I was expecting our usual gringele. We are here. The whole world must see that we are here. But we were just in a simple white outfit with green trimmings, and I thought, uh-oh.
Maybe it's because we're just...
What's going on?
We're just looking at our purse. Everything is on the low.
True.
That's one. And secondly, some other people, some other maybe cynics, skeptics, what you want to call them, will probably say, look, we've been attending the Olympics since 1952 or thereabout, winning medals since 1964. And what have we gotten over the years? 25 medals in all, only 3 golds, So
are you complaining? I don't know if you watched the opening ceremonies, and you must have heard all the nations who were there who had never won even a bronze.
Well, we're Nigeria. I don't really... Am I supposed to give a hoot?
About those people.
Those people?
You are comparing yourself to China and Russia and America.
I'm only comparing myself to Nigeria.
But you don't have the wherewithal to prepare your athletes like those people have.
Incidentally, the PRO of the Nigeria Olympics Committee said the same thing yesterday when we had a conversation with him, that most of the time a lot of the things that we see at these Olympics, in the build-up to the Olympics that you're seeing right now, from by the Nigerian contingents, they're usually personal efforts.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
So, I don't know, but the least we can do is just, what's that word again? Help?
Meanwhile, in places like China, kids are being prepared for the Olympics of 8 years, 12 years from now.
You know, Alera,
and the state is putting a lot of effort into it to make sure that these children are trained properly so that they can compete at the highest level.
Well, you're complaining about the opening ceremony. To some others, the question could be, is that a tip of the iceberg? Is that the kind of thing we're going to see in the entire competition? I hope not. But you know, as you said, 1999 we started this Fourth Republic. Did we have a 20-year plan to say in the next 20 years this is what we will have? Look,
I'm hanging my head.
As we speak right now, we have been talking about the Sustainable Development Goals that will expire in 2030. This is 2021, 9 years before that time. Do we have a plan? The United Nations gave us a goal, you know, a list of goals with targets and all of that. Do we have a plan? Poverty reduction is one of the top, you know, points of those goals.
And yet poverty is walking around on two legs.
So do we have a plan? Those issues are not just going to go away if we don't do the needful.
Yeah, we need to do the needful in many, many quarters. I mean, I went to buy cooking gas last week, and cooking gas is now 5,000 naira for 12.5 kg. And you were telling me the reason adduced by
some
an interested party.
Actually, remember that I think it was last year, about this time last year, that the vice president was saying, look, people, something in the region of almost 1 million people in Nigeria are usually negatively impacted by the use of kerosene, firewood, and charcoal in cooking all across Nigeria. So to the effect, you know, government said people need to prioritize the use of cooking gas. And most certainly, that is, as a matter of fact, I think there was even a campaign.
There was a huge campaign,
There was a huge campaign around, you know, people transiting from other sources of cooking to cooking gas.
And for that reason, they had these little cylinders with the stoves on top. Which were sold very cheaply at the time.
For which, you know, students were also encouraged to get those things and stuff like that. But with the rising cost of gas now, I was just looking through the internet trying to find out exactly why is this even happening. And guess what I saw?
But it's typical. I mean, our government is saying one thing and the actions are going in a total opposite direction.
In what way?
You want us to use gas, and yet you're making it expensive.
No, it's not government that is making it. It's not government that is selling gas.
Okay. Well,
you are the one. It's what you feel.
It's in a controlled environment, isn't it? Now we're being told that the gas is paid for in dollars. But the gas is Nigerian gas, isn't it?
There is an analyst, a petroleum industry analyst.
Yes, let him explain to us why it is so, please.
Well, maybe one of these days will bring him on, but what I'm reading, you know, one of the reasons says upstream gas contracts are usually priced in dollars, even for gas supply to the domestic market. So, in an attempt
gas supplied from domestic to the domestic market, or is it imported? Is it imported?
All gas is priced in dollars.
Is it imported?
It's imported into Nigeria from Nigeria.
Oh, okay. All right. I am beginning to understand.
All gas. What he's saying here is,
all gas is paid for in dollars.
The transaction is usually in dollars.
Whether it is Nigerian gas or American gas.
So maybe what government may now need to do is to look at that pricing regime. Because so long as all of the conversations are heard, you know, currency conversations are had in dollars, in foreign currency, all of that will increase. So it will reflect. So whenever the dollar increases, it affects everything that's paid for in dollars, so to speak. So whatever amount you're spending to buy your dollar now, it's just a kind of transition. So maybe that is what government needs to. Why are you laughing?
Because I'm following your argument. I'm following your argument. Why I should be paying, why you should be telling me about dollars.
It's not me. It's
why they should be telling me about dollars regarding a product that is mined in my country.
Essentially, you're saying that all of that doesn't have anything to do with you so long as you can use gas to cook your menu.
Look, that is what the common man on the street is going to say to you. This gas is made in Nigeria. So what are you telling me about dollars? I don't understand. What has the dollar got to do with Nigerian gas made in Nigeria to be sold to Nigerians? And you're telling me the price is going up because the cost of the dollar is going up. What has the dollar got to do with the price of gas?
Don't forget,
the price of meat, as they say.
It's not government. It's just this analyst.
I did not say government.
Okay.
So what are the analysts telling us?
Okay.
That this all has to do with the dollar?
Or what's the industry telling you?
Maybe we need to get an analyst in here to explain it to us properly, because we need to understand. And the common man whom government is saying should begin to change from coal and firewood to gas.
Or may have changed already.
Can't even afford it anymore.
And you can just imagine the ripple effect on prices of foods everywhere.
Forget about the price of food, please.
No, I'm not talking about the price of raw food.
Don't depress us further.
Okay.
Thank you.
But you don't want that to affect our menu?
No.
Okay.
We're going to start with Nigeria's diverse security threats.
You're frowning.
Because I do wonder what the poor man eats in this country. Well, we've now degenerated to the market where you now sell yam in slices. Doesn't that say a lot about alleviation of poverty, raising 10 million people out of poverty in 50 years, in 10 years, or whatever?
Maybe that is one of those things also responsible for these diverse security threats. You never can tell, but we'll find out, as we go on. And then, of course, there's the COVID-19 third wave, which is already as prominent as it is.
Generation Unlimited. Now, what's that? Well, you need to stay with us to understand what that is all about.
And of course, we would have the artist of the week later on. A he or a she? You'll find out.
Shim.
We're back after now. Do stay with us.
We certainly believe in this nation, which was why my head was just getting bigger and bigger when I saw our Olympics team yesterday. This is the only country that we have.
Absolutely.
So we will defend our land. No matter how bad it is still our country. And it's the only one we have. Talking about the only one we have, local government elections are happening out there. And like we said at the beginning of the program, it would be very nice for you all to go out there and make your voices heard, make your votes count. We keep complaining about government did this, government did that, but we are the ones who put government there. We did the voting. So, make your vote count. Go out there.
And if you don't vote, you have voted.
Well, yes, because whoever is there, you can't complain.
Absolutely.
Good. Meanwhile, Seun Okinbaloye is on the field waiting to tell us exactly what is going on out there. Seun, good morning.
I'm fine, Alara, and welcome to Ojodu Primary School in the Ojodu LCDA of Lagos. It's somewhat supposed to be a highly populated area of Ojodu area, not so far from the Ikeja area, which is the capital city of Lagos State. But we will say that this exercise is starting pretty much behind schedule. The exercise is supposed to begin at about 8 a.m. but the materials and the officials for this election didn't arrive until about 10 minutes before 9 p.m. That's about 50 minutes late. 50 minutes bit late for the election to start, but they should have been here before 8 a.m., but they arrived just before 9 a.m. But let me give you an understanding of what is happening down there. There are two polling units, polling unit 012 and polling unit 013. Polling unit 013 is just behind me, and just let me show you, just on this other side of these premises is polling unit 013. So there are two polling units here, and some of the voters are trickling in one after the other. Some of them have been waiting, and if you look just far beyond, you will see that there are voter register already on the wall. Don't forget that that is the same register used for the 2019 election, which is going to be used for this election. The same register INEC used for the election is what last year the Lagos State Independent Electoral Commission will be using for these local government elections. So that is what they're relying on, and if you can see that, so just behind me are some of the voters who have just arrived. And if I take you back here on this other polling unit, they're just giving some kind of information for the voters. So what you start with is some kind of enlightening of the voters on what to do, on how to go about it. They came earlier, they set up the cubicle. This is where the voting will be done. In this cubicle, it's supposed to be an open secret ballot system where the voter will come behind this cubicle, thumbprint on the ballot paper, and thereafter come towards this area. And there are two boxes, because don't forget there is a legislative election and executive election, the councillorship seat, and of course the ballot for the ballot box for the councillorship seat, and the one for the chairmanship positions. And there are several kinds of security operatives that you can find, from the police, Nigerian police, to the Lagos State Neighborhood Security Corps, the Neighborhood Watch. They're all here. Let me allow you to see what is happening. If you can come closer so we can see what the official is doing.
And this is for the chairman. This is the first one. Like you can all see, it is blank. There's nothing on it. Brand new. This is the second one. Can you see? Okay. Brand new. And this is the third one.
So pretty much, well, the official is showing off the ballot papers that are being not tampered with just yet, and so all the materials that are going to be used for the election, the ballot papers, the ballot sheet, and if you can see, it's an election that is supposed to be under the guidance of the COVID-19 protocols, face mask, and you can see the officials are in their into gloves also, and the card reader machine, which is also going to be used.
So we just put it on right now in your presence. It is off. Can you see? So that's everything we got for today's election.
All right. So you can see also the sanitizer, the thermometer for testing the voters. And we're supposed to have everybody pretty much on their face mask. See, one of the agents is not on his face mask. It's an election that is supposed to be strictly on the guidance of the COVID-19 protocol. This is an election that is starting pretty much behind schedule. Alero, Ayo, that is the situation we have right here. This is our first stop at the Ojodu Primary School, Unit 012 and Unit 013. Starting behind schedule, a handful of voters who have called in here. A few of them have come here, but since they didn't find any official, they left. Perhaps some of them are living around this area. We'll find them back in another few minutes. But that's the situation. It's just about 9:30 a.m. here in Lagos, and the local government election is just getting to a sluggish start.
Shaun, just before you go, what is the process for the voter? So he goes there, checks for his name on the voter register, that is pasted on the wall. And then what does he do?
So, sorry, if you can take that again, Alera, so I can hear you clearly.
I said from the point of view of the voter, he arrives at the polling station, he checks for his name on the register that's on the wall, right? So if he finds his name on that wall, what does he do next?
Oh, great. So, very good question, Alera. So this is an example of what happens when voters come. This is a very first point of call. This is a first stop. So if the camera comes slightly closer, you can see the voter register here with the names on it, because the only body in Nigeria allowed for election register is INEC. So they have the register. So when you check the register here and you can find your name, then you go with your permanent voter card or your temporary voter card up onto the voting unit. The first stop here, you check for your name and your number. If it correlates or corresponds, then you now take that and go to the polling officer. Just let me show you quickly what you do next. There is a corresponding voter register right here. They have a similar record of what is on the wall right here, which the voter has to use, and now they have to use a card reader machine to match what you see to authenticate your biometric. So you have to have all of this before you can get be allowed to vote. So that is pretty much what you're going to do when you get here, Alera. It's pretty much straightforward. Nothing too far away from what we see in the general elections.
Okay, thank you.
But just before I let you go, Sho, I don't know what you think of the roads right now you're going to be traversing. There was a lot of traffic before 8 o'clock this morning, and there's supposed to be no movement on the roads between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. How do you see the road? How was the road before you got to where you are now? And since it's 9:30, you say now, what's the road like? What's the road like?
Pretty much free, Ayo. I mean, for those who, if you live in London, New York, if you live in Lagos, you pretty much have an idea of what roads will be like in a commercial city like Lagos on a Saturday. But it's pretty much empty. It takes an average of 20-30 minutes to drive from the Channels TV headquarters to this kind of place. But it took us less than 10 minutes to drive. Just you can give you a sense of how fast you can move on the road. The roads are free. There are checkpoints by the police officers who are not allowing the free movement. If you're not allowed on the road, if you're not on essential duty, if you're not a journalist, if you're not on election duty, you're not allowed to move. So pretty much the roads are free, and it's going to be like that for the next few hours until about 3 p.m. when the roads will be thrown open. Don't forget, we're at the corridor of the city, at the border of the city, where we can see people moving in and out. As early as 6 a.m. when I got to the office this morning, there are pretty much a lot of people who are trying to get out of town early, those who are traveling and making their way out. Aside that, the roads are now very much distorted, and people are just moving in the inner roads of the city.
Well, just one more thing. Is this in any way likely to encourage people to come out to vote? Because part of the reason that I believe the Lagos State government said no movement, and maybe Ogun State as well, is that maybe it'll encourage people to go out and perform their civic responsibilities. Do you see that happening, given the spate of voter apathy over the years?
Absolutely, look, let's be frank with ourselves. A lot of Nigerians talk about what they want government to do for them. They clamor for the kind of things they want to see, developmental issues, governance issues. But the role of an average citizen is to participate in selecting, electing those who will govern them. When you do not come out on a day like this, you are depriving yourself of having a say in who governs you. And this is the closest government to the people, the local government. And this is the only opportunity you have to be part of that exercise. It's looking pretty much free. no fear of insecurity or any kind of violence. That as much as we've been promised by the police and last year in this election. And usually people get registered pretty much very close to where they live. So there is no excuse for people not to go out. If you cannot move to work or do any other thing, why not just come out and vote? Exactly. Lagos State is a commercial hub, the nerve center of the nation. It's important that citizens who live in Lagos or from Lagos participate in these elections. It's very important.
Okay. Thank you very much, and we'll let you go for now, but we'll be coming back to you for updates as the program goes along. Thank you very much. Cheum Okinbaloye at Ojodu Polling Center.
That's one. Well, he talked about no violence, no likely threats of violence, and that's a good place for us to start this conversation this morning. The diverse security threats that we've been having, because, I mean, we all know that we have faced with unprecedented wave of all kinds of overlapping security crises in the nation, from kidnapping to extremist insurgencies to abduction of children from schools and stuff like that. We could go on and on. Now, of course, some have linked the recent upsurge of insecurity to poverty, youth unemployment, and the figures are just out there in our faces. But what will tomorrow bring? Let's start from today. This conversation is being had with two people in the security sector. Olatunbo Bolarinwa is a security expert. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And Lieutenant Commander John Danjuma, retired, is a former Navy intelligence officer. Thank you very much for being here.
Happy you invited me.
Okay, let's begin with you, Mr. Bolarinwa. Did we see this coming? I ask that because, I mean, I would naturally assume that so long as there is a government in place, there is always that understanding of the larger picture. This has been with us for quite a while. So is it shocking that this is happening? And why is it that we seem not to be able to put it in check?
Well, thank you very much for directing that question to me. The first question is that, did we see this coming? This has been here, it's not coming. So we need to correct that impression. We have a big problem pitching or docking on our domain.
When I say, did you see it coming? Yeah. My apologies. The question that was along the line of that it will still be with us for so long.
It's going to be insecurity that is not properly checked or properly managed. We shouldn't deceive ourselves that it's going to go away or it's going to get better. We should come to terms with the reality that you did mention government and governance. So all this thing has to do with how we manage the type of insecurity we have over the years. And you and myself can be the judge. If it is well managed from beginning, are we going to be where we are today? I just saw a news flash today, which is a topic that we have discussed in this studio before. I saw the Navy carrying pirates to court. Pirates are doing what other criminals are doing on land, on the sea. and the Navy did with their modus operandi, carried out an operation, made an arrest, and we had that about 12 or 15 pirates are being taken to court. So I want to say that is a final product. Navy were able to carry out their operation on sea, and they are carrying the criminals to where they are supposed to be.
So you would like to see that happening on land?
I would like to see that happening on land. I want to know why is the Nigerian army not doing the same? Why are the Nigerian army talking about reintegration of criminals who have committed crime against people in the Federal Republic of Nigeria under the Constitution that is controlling both the Navy, the Air Force, the police, the civil defense, and the army, and the DSS? Why are the rest of all these people not taking people to court? If one wing of the military is taking people to court, that is the Navy, why are the army dressing up criminals in white garments, sending picture to us and telling us that they are reintegrating them or rehabilitating them? And that is a question that the government needs to answer. It is all about governance. It is all about the quality of governance that we use to manage insecurity that brought us to where we are today.
Are you suggesting that there is some kind of double standard somewhere?
Of course, there is double standard. If in Kaduna State, bandits are just a kind of businessmen, whereas in the eastern part of Nigeria, agitators, people we refer to as firepower, are being met with serious military firepower. And the people who want to rise up to defend their farmland in order for them to put food on their table
How does that
are being arrested.
How does that contribute to worsening security?
I'll answer that question. The people that are not allowed to defend their farmlands, so they couldn't produce anything in the farm, they couldn't feed their family on the table, may end up taking arms to copy their fellow businessmen in Kaduna State. For instance, if the business is booming in Kaduna State, according to the executive governor of Kaduna State, if the bandits who are killing people, maiming people, stealing things from people, making life difficult of them are a kind of business, what makes you think that the people in the southwestern Nigeria...
Are you saying that the governor of Kaduna State approves banditry in Kaduna State?
I didn't say approve, so I don't want you to quote me as approve.
When you say
but he was asked a question: what is the difference between the criminal in the north, the bandits, and the like of the agitators or criminals in the southwest? He said that the bandits in Kaduna State are some kind of businessmen. They are doing some kind of business, carrying people, killing people, and exchanging them for money. It is a kind of business, according to him.
Even though it's illegal.
Even though it's illegal. So what standard of government is operating in the northern part of Nigeria and against insecurity, and what kind of governance is operating in the southwestern part of Nigeria against the type of criminals we have there? Is it double? Is it single? Are we getting it right? That is the question we need to start asking ourselves.
Commander, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think that the problem has refused to go away because we're not being decisive in our action?
Yes, and I think it has to do with the failure to understand the root cause of the security situation. Unless we are able to link the fact that over 100 million Nigerians are destitute. Imagine someone sleeping on the streets, on bare ground, exposed to the elements, and then waking up, there is no water to even drink. A sachet of pure water now is about 20 naira, so no water to drink, and no food in the stomach, no hope in the mind. And that kind of a person, they say anyone who has nothing to protect is a very dangerous person.
Yeah.
People will look for opportunities where law and order has been cast aside, so that they can loot. I just discovered that this looting of a thing happened even in Denmark, one of these countries you rate first, second, and third, by way of standard of living. So, if people do not have the basic needs, we have to see that in the first world, for instance, even in the United States, government is putting money, so much money in the hands of people, and they are not even willing to work. Do you know that? Nigerians should know that government is so kind. They have printed so much money. President Biden has given people so much money, putting so much money into their hands that some people feel comfortable not to work. That's the kind of economy they run. And here, we print money, according to the governor of Edo State, who has been a banker before, and we have said that if an individual...
That's already been debunked by government.
Well, we Nigerians, you know, we go online, we read books. Milton Friedman, one of the greatest philosophers, economists. In fact, his ideas brought United States, you know, at the end of the last century, America was at its top because of the ideas he gave. He exposed all these wonderful economic terms that economists will come and speak to you. At the end, you are more confused. He spoke to us in an everyday language that, look, there has never been any inflation without the central bank printing money. And there has, in history, never been a situation where the printing of money stopped and the fortunes of the people did not improve. And why was it that, you know, in fact, that was the only time I saw the central bank governor sweating and attacking. You know, one of the best forms of defense is to attacking, you know. And this reminds me of what happened, you know, in 1999, when, if we remember, most states couldn't even pay their salaries. And that was when the central bank governor intervened, you know, and gave them money. Now, if I, as an individual, I print money without producing anything, that's counterfeiting.
Yes.
And that's collecting money from the public without, you know, it's illegal. But why do we think, in order to build an economy, it's no more by savings, it is by printing money? So we need to realize that the kinds of policies, economic policies that we churn out, they create poverty.
Commander, let me ask you this. I mean, gratifying to say that, to know that you are, you know, a former intelligence officer, so you would know these things. I asked Mr. Bolanowa the other time, didn't we see this coming? I'm asking because by way of intelligence gathering, there are some things that I would assume is supposed to be a given. There are some things which we're just supposed to know ahead. For instance, did we see poverty coming? I mean, you talked about just 20 years ago. I'm looking back to the Second Republic, where the government of the day at the time declared austerity measures. Okay, I mean, that's as far back as what? How many years now?
That's 30 years.
That's, you know, so did we see this coming? Did we see a time in Nigeria where, you know, poverty figures would be this serious? And what did we do as a nation and as state governments to get ahead of this kind of situation?
You know, essentially, I want to tell you that what is wrong consistently, what has been wrong, is our way of thinking. For example, as a military man, in fact, if you go throughout history, how you bring down your enemy is to circle him round and prevent him from going out or coming in. In fact, at a stage, if you read your Bible, I think 1 Kings 23 or so, when a city was circled, I think the Assyrians circled Jerusalem, women ate their own children. Now imagine a government headed by a military man closing the borders. I think I tried on this channel, you know, to show that if you want to develop a country, you open up the system, free markets. Many economists have come to deceive us that China made progress because they closed that system, which is a big lie. Anyone can go online now and check. When Mao Zedong, Chairman Mao, closed China, an estimate of 56 million people died or were killed. But it was in the late 70s when this Deng Xiaoping, or one of the leaders whose name I cannot recollect fully now, he came and opened the system. So open systems make for progress. Closed systems, how was the Biafran war won and lost? It's because that system was closed. So one of the mistakes we have made and we keep on making is to close the system and not allow people to use their intellect, to use their business acumen to make money. Government is the one that chooses those who win and lose. Look at what's happening in the sugar industry, for example. You choose 3 people to give them foreign exchange. Why don't you allow the people to compete? One other thing that I've been trying to bring to the knowledge of most of my friends is to see that currency controls are also wrong. You know, right from after the Second World War up to 1980s, they had the system which we are practicing now, where the central bank will be in charge of all the currency. They had it in the UK until Margaret Thatcher came in the 80s and stopped it. Now, if you now, I remember Henry Boyo, you know, that man was one of the leaders that Nigeria should have listened to, because he preached, save the naira, save the economy. The simplest way to destroy any economy is to devalue the naira. Look, in the 80s, or is it 70s, a whole Volkswagen assembly plant was built with 8 million naira. 8 million that you cannot buy a second-hand vehicle with. With 8 million naira today, what will 8 million naira do for you? So we have to see where we are getting it wrong. Most of the economic policies tend towards impoverishing the people. You were mentioning gas. You know, I was even telling my people yesterday that with my gas at the site, you know, got finished. You know, the second I was thinking of going to buy it. Why didn't I go and buy it? You know, I waited, and now I have to buy it about twice the amount. So the kind of economic policies we make should be, you know, in favor of the people. And for this, I think that the members of the National Assembly, who are the true representatives of the people, should not just sit down. You know, I believe that the spending power, you know, of any economy belongs to the National Assembly.
But you know, just forgive me for butting in. You've talked about the federal government. The states have authority over all of the land. I don't know if that is in any contention. And I think I remember it was one of our guests here earlier that said, I think it was Tokwe Fasha that was saying, of all of Nigeria's landmass, just about 20% is in use for anything of our landmass in Nigeria. And I also recall the president saying at a recent engagement that he was surprised to hear that only 2.5% of Nigeria's land space is being used for agriculture. And of course, naturally, that's, you know, shocking and very disturbing. Isn't there anything the states themselves can do? Because the federal government has citizens, as I always say. The state governments have the indigents. So it's the state governments that should actually champion agriculture, don't you think?
The state governors, the state governments that make it difficult for you to get your land papers. Remember what, was it Hernando de Soto, that economist, that came to tell them that, look, one of the major differences between the first world and third world is that in the first world you could easily get papers, you know, based on what you have. You could get papers even for a bicycle. Yeah. And you know, you can use it to get your money. You know, imagine these governors who make it difficult for you to get your land papers. Are they the governors that would bring forth ideas? Because it's supposed to be a marriage actually between the state governments and the federal government. If the federal government, for example, realizes, if the state governments, for example, realize that they need tractors, for example, for farming, you know, why don't they tell the federal government, look, cancel all customs duties
on tractors.
You know, let us have these tractors come in.
Yes.
You know, so it's not here. It's neither here nor there. We need leaders. You know, it's from the heart. Even if you have a terrible constitution, though I don't accept that this constitution we have is okay. But even if you have a terrible constitution, but the hearts of the leaders is towards the people. Yeah. Leadership is about making people happy.
Okay.
Yeah. Mr. Barnaba, another reason for this gross insecurity that we have is rural-urban drift. More and more youth are finding absolutely nothing to do in the rural areas. So they're surging into the cities. Like, forget every day, every minute. They come into the city and they are not employable. The ones that are employable cannot find jobs. So what do? They survive somehow. They live on the streets, as they say, robbing people, kidnapping people. What can be done to... Thank you.
Gentlemen.
To reduce that influx?
I think the answer to that question lies in the question itself. And I want to go back to what my honorable colleague just said. The heart of the government, or whoever that is put in position
at all
levels, really needs to go towards developing whatever they give to you. You are not elected to start complaining. I'm a kind of leader in the community where I hailed from. And one of my major problems that I'm facing at the moment are the number of young people that wants to leave the community to come to the city, and the number of elderly people that are begging me for food, for money for food and medicine. And it wasn't like that before. These are people that they just greet me and want to know that I'm okay. They have their farmlands where they farm. They plant it.
But they can't go to the farms anymore.
But they cannot go to the farm anymore. It is, I think in my community, only one person has been killed by a suspected herdsman issue. And that sent the fear across. So what I'm trying to do now is to embolden the people to go back to the farm. And that is what local government, state government has failed to do. What security are we providing for these people? Among these people you are talking about, there are people that are completely skillless.
Yeah.
And for instance, in Lagos State now, I don't know how the governor or what the government want to do about it. Everybody was laughing when the governor in Zamfara bought 1,000 or 2,000 wheelbarrow for their unemployed indigents. We were laughing at them. Now those wheelbarrows are on Lagos Street. Not only on Lagos Street, they can even access inner part of Lagos where motorcycle and vehicle cannot go. Pushing groceries, pushing fruits, peppers, and everything, name it, into all those places. And the governors we were laughing at in the north knew that the youth that are going to disturb the street of northern state, the youth that Boko Haram are going to entice to join them, if you give them wheelbarrow, they will end up in Lagos and they will start carrying load and selling things, and it solves its own problem. Whereas Lagos state government is waiting, seeing them, scratching our cars, disturbing the market of people who are selling things inside there, and they are not paying rent tax to anybody. So now we want to ask, what is the mind?
If you don't mind me, butting in, you raised a couple of crucial issues in this response that you've given.
Yeah.
On the one hand, you've talked about the fact that a government is aware of what the problem is of bandits being enticed with money. There was a report, front page report of one of these newspapers once that said that bandits and insurgents are recruiting jobless youths.
Yes.
With money. Before you even start doing
20,000.
anything, 20,000 naira. Yeah. Before you even do anything, you get 20,000 naira to get employed. And which I think it was the colloquium, the Bola Tinubu colloquium of I think March this year, that Bola Tinubu himself was saying that, look, it seems that the federal government is competing with bandits to recruit jobless people. It was shocking to see. But the president attended that event, though virtually, and a number of dignitaries were there at that event as well. So I'm just wondering, we know that these things are there.
Yeah.
And unless we solve the problem of unemployment where people reside, this rural-urban migration is not going to end.
Yeah.
So what can we do? What should the governors or state governments be thinking about to solve the problem in their localities for themselves? Because if people who can work in their states continue to leave, there is no manpower to develop that state.
Yes, what can the government do? The government really need to do what my colleagues said earlier on. The first thing is that you should open up. The government of Lagos State or Ogun State or Osun State shouldn't be about Osun State alone. Osun State, the corn, maize being produced in Osun State is not enough to feed the people of Osun State. The gari that is being produced in Ogun State and the popular Ijebu gari is not enough. So where are the silos? Why, if I'm the Lagos State governor now,
Good point.
why don't I have a silo huge enough to accommodate corn? Instead of wheelbarrow coming from Zamfara, Adamawa, and other places,
But
why can't we empower these people? All these people pushing wheelbarrows around Lagos, can we empower them in Lagos to go back and farm it and come back and bring it and we store it in our silos?
You said if you were the governor, you would have a huge silo.
Yeah.
And you would store corn. Where would you get your corn from?
That is what I'm trying to say now, that let government look inward and take advantage of all these people that are bringing wheelbarrows, all these people that are bringing shoemaker and other medicine. They are practical farmers. All these people that wants to leave the village, and ask them, what can you do? Everybody naturally, my family are natural families of farmers. I don't know where they learn it from, but I know that my grandfather don't buy pepper. I don't know how he dries his tomato, but he will bring it out. So why not take advantage of this? Why not open the border up and bring all these people together? Okay. You can go. A governor can go. A governor in Lagos State or Osun State or your state can go to Zamfara and buy 60 acres of land.
Before I go to Commodore, remember when the former governor of Lagos State, Babatunde Fashola was governor. He tried to remove area boys from the streets and put them in centers where they could learn vocational trade.
Yes. I think Marwa started.
Do you recall how many of them actually ran away from those vocational centers? They didn't want to learn anything. They preferred to hang out on the streets and harass you and harass me.
Yes.
Continue being area boys.
Yes, there's a reason for that. Or there was a reason for that.
Okay.
The reason for that was that whatever you are putting together, you should know that it comes at a price. Did you, after you had that, these centers that these children were taken into, because I'm going to give you, there's a center like that just beside my house in London. Now, I was wondering why am I being disturbed by noises of youth, but I discovered that a landmass that is becoming a problem to the community in Hammersmith was divided into a vocational center and recreation center. So half of it, you learn whatever you want to learn, and I was amazed. This type of earring you are wearing can actually be produced in that small space. They are teaching teenagers how to use this. I saw somebody that started using newspaper to make jewelries in that same place. But at the same time, they understand that they are youths and their heart of commitment in them is not just. Some of them are still dreaming that they want to become like David Beckham. So they created a sports center that, okay, you come here for 3 hours to learn how to make jewelries.
And you go play.
And then after 2 hours of learning, you can still play. You can play with computers. You can play with ping pong, table tennis. You can play with basketball. Somebody from sports ministry will come and train you how to fire a shot that nobody can catch. So you engage the children. What did we engage them to? What food are we feeding them with?
So who is going to teach them how to catch a ball that nobody should be able to catch? That's right.
I have said that what is consistent is that our way of thinking is wrong.
Yeah.
There is no way any economy can make progress by just focusing on agriculture, this peasant farming. In fact, progress in agriculture means having fewer people. You know, you introduce mechanized. Yes. Do you know that one day, just a documentary, the number of oranges one single farmer in the United States, was farming. You can imagine 23 trailers being pushed into the factory, that would turn it into
oranges.
Yeah, juice. So one farmer in the United States can farm more than 3 states of these peasant farmers. So if you truly want to make progress, if you want to create jobs. In fact, you cannot create jobs. It's actually reduce. You are going to reduce the number of people that go into the production. Because if you listen to the Israeli president, for example, he tells you that they have now developed the agricultural sector to the point that they even know the number of drops of water that each plant would need. So you need the mental capacity. You cannot continue to use peasant farmers. In fact, one of the problems that we have that is linked to security is because look at the cattle that we breed. You know, the size, the liters of milk they give, everything
the
about it is wrong.
Meat.
You know, so we need to change our way of thinking, even to apply it to agriculture if we want to make progress.
Okay.
The other thing I saw is that, you see, government anywhere cannot organize an economy. You know, economy, the basis of economy is the household, is the individual. You know, anytime government tries to direct the economy in a particular way, it is not based on what the people desire or what skills or talents the people have. You know, so if I don't want to be a farmer, but you force me to be a farmer. I don't want to be a welder, but you now force me to be a welder. It's not going to work.
Can I? You've talked about policy repeatedly here, and you continue to talk about what the people want and all of that. I remember we had this conversation with Professor Akin Oyubo, the Emeritus Professor of International, and he said, perhaps one of the challenges we have as a nation is that there is no national direction. No national ethos, no national vision that, okay, as a country, this is the direction we're all facing, so all our banking, our agriculture, our education, our everything should focus in that direction. What do you think of that?
Yeah. For example, I've had Professor Patu Tomit talk about South Korea. In fact, the last vessel that I worked on, in fact, I worked on that vessel for 10 years, was made in South Korea. You know, South Korea is one of those countries that decided that one way they could make progress is through shipbuilding. You know, now talking about shipbuilding, if we were to do that, supposing it was our idea also, because I read an article recently that part of the idea was to make vessels and cars from the Ajaokuta. Now, in a nation that is riddled with corruption, for example, how can we make progress? Even if we had that idea at the beginning, that this is the direction to go. You know, so for some countries that may be more homogeneous than us, such ideas could work, but even then it gets to a limit. You know, that country today is known for some kind of phone. You know, I use the kind of phone also. It's known for shipbuilding. You know, once you realize, I think that's one of the things we are getting wrongly. Once you realize that the greatest asset a nation has is its people, you see, there is no way if you had introduced free and compulsory education throughout Nigeria, you know, for maybe 3 decades, there is no way the level, you know, of our thinking wouldn't have been higher than what it is today. It's more difficult to deceive someone who has gone to school that, see this one, he is from this tribe, or see this one, he's from this
faith. Another, my apologies, and that's another challenge that we've had. Religious conflicts over time. I'm just wondering, if we had a national ethos, would those things matter?
That is why you need a visionary. You mentioned, the moment you mentioned that word, I was elated within me, because if you have a leader who has seen a vision of one Nigeria and will not put his ethnic background first or religious background, if you have a leader who, and we lost that one in Abiola, because if you remember, Abiola won even in Kano. Ibrahim Tofa was from Kano, or is from Kano. Abiola won. So we had started, you know, being brought together. National integration has started working for us until the self-styled evil genius himself, you know, broke that trend. So we need a leader who himself has seen a vision of one Nigeria, is able to communicate that one Nigeria to us by his word and action. Then and only then, you know, will we begin to see ourselves, you know, without all this.
Can I just add something to what he said? Okay. The word united at the back of United Kingdom for a very long time was just there. The Scottish don't like the English. The Irish don't like the English. The Welsh thought that, well, they just have no choice, but they are a country on their own with another language. And I think towards the end of Margaret Thatcher's regime, they realized, during the beginning of Tony Blair, they realized that integration and diversity is one of the best way to go back, because the problem they had on their hand as at then was not about all these other ethnic minority that joined them, but
integration and diversity. Integration and diversity is in our constitution.
It is in our constitution.
Section 15.
One thing is for it to be in your constitution. Another thing is for it to be in everything you do.
In your being.
If you obtain an application form from Abbey National or National Westminster Bank now, it will be written. There is almost 3 pages section where you will fill in to test your level of integration and diversity. Can you work with gays? Can you work with people of other region and other this thing? And the answer you give will determine whether you get that job or not. Which means that they even took it out of the governance into private sectors.
To practice.
You just have to employ the disabled. You can't have a company without having a complete disabled person. You must find one. In a company, not on the street.
Okay,
you must find an albino. Yeah, you must find somebody from other part of the world.
On this same unity issue, let me ask Commander John, because I mean you've been in the military. One of the things that I believe was the ethos of the military, or still is the ethos of the military, is unity, because soldiers come from every part of the nation. Now, I see in section 15 sub 3A, sub 3 says, for the purpose of promoting national integration, it shall be the duty of the state, that's talking about government, to A, provide adequate facilities for and encourage free mobility of people, goods and services throughout the nation. Over the years and from your experience, how would you say we have fared in this department?
We have tried so many things, like the National Youth Service, you know, and, you know, one thing is you could have it on paper that, oh, Nigerians should be this and that and that.
1, 2, 3,
but in reality,
5, 6, 7,
you know,
8,
do we,
10.
you know, when you mentioned one word, I said our constitution, you know, that's a lie. You know, if you give me bananas, for example, I reject it and I say it doesn't agree with my constitution, it means that my body, it's not in tune with my body.
Okay.
So a constitution should be what the people want, what the people have agreed upon. Now, my wife, for example, before we came together, we had to agree on certain things. We're going to have this number of children, we're going to stay here, we're going to do this. Now, if 2 people need to sit down and work things out, these details, how do you want to manage the kind of diversity we have, you know, by forcing down the throat, you know, the people? So for me, we are really living a big lie. First of all, Nigeria is not a federation. Another thing is Nigeria is not a republic. If you say Nigeria is a republic, why are we uplifting and paying all these traditional rulers, we call them traditional rulers, money? Does that mean that they are on a higher, their families are on a higher level than the other families? In a republic, you don't have monarchical system. They don't exist together. So Nigeria is neither a federation nor and it's not even a nation. You have Yoruba nation, you have Ijaw nation.
You have just given the National Assembly some work now, and I think I'm going to take a list and send to them. But right now, this conversation is definitely unending. Clearly, we've talked about the threats to our nation. We've mentioned quite a number of things: ethno-religious conflicts, perception. We've talked about the perception of government, rural-urban drift, and this issue of integration, joblessness, and all of that. But gentlemen, we have to thank you very much this morning, and just trust that we are making progress, albeit extremely slowly. Olatubo Apolarinwa is a security expert. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks very much for having me.
As well as Lieutenant Commander John Danjuma, retired, a former Navy intelligence officer. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
So up next is the next issue, of course. Why are you laughing?
Oh, Thank you for staying with us. Now we're going to be talking COVID. And maybe you're wondering, what about COVID again? We've said all there is to say, but we haven't spoken about the Delta variant, have we? There you go.
And we haven't really talked about, I think there's that challenge of people really understanding what's at stake.
Well, unfortunately, Nigerians still believe that it is something distant.
There.
It's over there. You know, you can't catch us. We are in the sun. We're this, we're that. Oh, I reject it in the name of Jesus. Oh, Holy Spirit, take control. All those kinds of things.
It's not the same Holy Spirit that created the medical profession.
Well,
I'm just wondering.
Go and tell that to the Nigerian in the market who's walking around without a mask, who doesn't know anything about sanitizer or washing of his hands. Go tell that to him. Well, we have been told that there is now a variant of this virus, and it's called the Delta variant. And the number of those getting that particular variant is rising by the day. Hospitalizations are also rising, so much so that the federal government has raised an alert and designated some areas as red areas, and those areas include Lagos, Oyo, Rivers, Kaduna, Kano, Plateau, and the Federal Capital Territory. But what exactly is this Delta variant people are talking about? And how does it affect you? How can you get it, and how do you react to it? Well, we have people who should know this morning. It's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Olushola Sokefun, geneticist, lecturer, Department of Zoology and Environmental Biology, Lagos State University. Good morning, Doctor. We also have joining us from our Abuja studio, Professor Abdul Salami Nasidi, Provost, College of Health Science, University of Africa. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. Dr. Tunji Funshaw is also with us, and he joins us virtually, and he is chairman of the Nigeria National Polio Plus Committee of the Rotary International. Thank you very much for joining us, Doctor.
Thank you very much for having me on this program.
Great. Now, Dr. Sokefun,
Yes, ma'am.
as you may be well aware, people are going to be glued now trying to learn more about this Delta variant, because you all have told us that it is more virulent. So, this thing seems to be mutating all the time. Tell us more about this Delta thing that is spreading, and it seems to be killing more people.
Thank you very much for inviting me. The last time I was here, I told you that it is normal for viruses to continue to change. And they will change basically to achieve 5 or 6 things. 1, become more transmissible from one species to another. 2, become more transmissible from a different species onto another. Because we know that the COVID virus is found in bats, and there has been no real history of its coming to man to this extent. So transmission from animals to man is a critical thing that, the virus has achieved through mutation. It will continue to mutate to try and avoid detection within the human antigen-antibody system. It will continue to change so that it cannot also be amplified using the reverse transcriptase system in the laboratory. Detection, when you test. So viruses change across time. There are currently over 5,000 variations in the 29,000 kilobases of the genome. So, this is not strange to science. It is common knowledge that that will continue to happen. What happens after these changes is the important thing. Does it become better adapted to being able to go from one person to another? Does it increase in its severity of the disease? These are some of the things that are important. There are several mutations that we have found in the genome that are not, that doesn't make it more suitable to cause disease, and it doesn't also aid its transmission. Okay. But the Delta variant is a significant one. that has been found to increase the ability of the virus to go from one person to another. And then it has also increased the severity of the disease, especially in persons that are not vaccinated. And we should expect more of this as time goes on.
In persons that are not vaccinated.
Yes.
And we should expect more of it.
Oh, more of the variation, yes, because viruses are constantly changing. The genome is, though very small, but 29,000, 30,000 kilobases. But you see, the RNA core typically has some problems with transmission to the DNA when it replicates. And as such, you have several mistakes in the copy system, you know. It's like soldiers on parade, and then one falls. Of course, you know, the parade is distorted, and then it's arranged back, and distortion stays and all that, you know.
This picture you are creating in the head, it's scary enough on its own.
Exactly.
But let me ask Prof in our Abuja studio. Maybe this might be a quick digression, Prof. My concern right this moment is for the health workers who are on the front line of all of this conversation that we've been having over time. I'm just wondering, do they have as much fear? You know, because merely sitting here and listening to all of this soldier talk of Dr. Shukefun is scary enough on its own. I'm wondering, how are the health workers themselves who have to deal with the issues that people will have to bring on a daily? How do they take these on board? And what should they be thinking about? How should they protect themselves beyond, you know, the normal that they've been doing over time?
Well, thank you. As you may be aware, the virus, you know, does not know who is healthcare worker, who is not healthcare worker, who is this religion or that ethnic group, and so on. So it's a terrible, invisible enemy that deals with any human being it comes across. In fact, if you have to talk of fear and management of fear, you know, the healthcare workers are usually more scared of these deadly viruses and pathogens because they know what they can do. They know what these viruses and all these pathogens can do to the body. So they luckily themselves know that they shouldn't waste time, but to start doing everything possible to protect themselves because they are the frontliners. They can't run away from the war front. It's like the soldier. You know that you know, anyone who joins the military knows that one day he might be called to go and face the music. So the healthcare workers are there. They've sworn to the hypocritical oath, and they are never going to retreat under any threat by these terrible invisible enemies. So then, lastly, you know, the healthcare workers. You know, in some cases, especially if the threat is very high, are helped with some incentives to protect them, you know, to give them life insurance, as many countries are doing, hazard allowances, and so on and so forth.
Well, Prof, I'm also, I don't know how you would take this, but I mean, you administer a school, so to speak. How do the students react when you talk about these issues in the class? I mean, knowing that you are a soldier going to the war front and you're going to be fighting soldiers you can't see, that has to be something.
Yeah, the moment anybody signs in to go to read medicine, you should know that there are so many things that comes with it. The good, glorious name of being a doctor is there. Or a nurse or any healthcare workers at all. You are highly revered and respected by the society. A lot is expected of you. So most of those who come in to read medicine are usually tested by so many events, even before they become doctors or nurses. And an example is, you know, you can't be a doctor until you do anatomy. And if you are doing anatomy, that means you will come in contact with cadaver, and some students can't take it. So they all their lives want to be doctors, but when they enter medical school and they see the reality of what it takes to be a medical doctor, they get scared. If the students that remain and continue with the courses in medicine, are always, aware that, at any given time there is the professional hazard. You might maybe in the process of providing health or returning health to any sick person, yourself acquire such an infection and or a disease that might kill you. So I think it's frightening, but I'm very proud, to announce that virtually all medical students, all medical schools that I know, usually having students that are courageous and expecting this type of exposure.
Okay, Dr. Funshaw, there was something that Dr. Shokefun mentioned about this third wave. He seems to be saying that those who are unvaccinated seem to be in more danger, and yet only about 1% of our population is vaccinated. I mean, how are we going to deal with this?
That is why, thank you for that question, because, that is why it's scarier. I think to a large extent we focus, on the things we cannot attain in the short term. Let me put this in its proper perspective. You see, as Dr. Shokefun said, the virus, mutates. Even we as human beings, in order to exist as we are now from more than 2 million years ago when we evolved, we've changed our colors, from black to brown to yellow and so on. They are all with a view to make sure that we're able to survive the environment we find ourselves. Right now, most of the very virulent mutations are due to the same reason. And mutations will occur the more the transmission. That is why all the variants we've had have been coming from areas of high transmission. The first one, Alpha from the UK. Then we have Delta now, but between them we had the variant from Brazil, we had the variant from South Africa. All of them are in an attempt, to survive. And the more transmissions you have, the more the chances of these variants coming out. We've just been lucky that so far we've had only just one, this Delta, that is more transmissible. It replicates about 1,000 times more than the previous variants. And the easiest way for us to break this transmission is to avoid being infected by others who may either be carrying the virus asymptomatically, or they may have mild symptoms, or they may be recovering. And that is what we started with, which we did well with at the beginning, which is ensuring that we wear face masks, ensuring that we don't have large gatherings, particularly in an enclosed, environment, ensuring good hand sanitation, because those we can afford by and large. Vaccines are not going to get to the point where they're of any major use to us until perhaps the end of next year. We're expecting about 8 million doses by the end of August, we're told. That is just a drop in the ocean. Yes, vaccines do protect, but what we have on ground, 8 million doses, which will take till the end of the year, if we get it in August, to immunize people, is just nothing. So before we start talking about the vaccine protecting people, let us do the things that are possible to do now. Yes, vaccines do protect people, but even with that, it is not absolute. People who are vaccinated can still get the infection. It's just that they don't get severe infections that may lead to hospitalizations and death. But then when we have barely 2 million, Nigerians fully vaccinated at this point in time, from the public health point of view, it is zero. But for the personal point of view, those who are vaccinated should know that they are still at risk and should not expose themselves.
Okay. Dr. Shukifun, the WHO says that we need, well, at least African countries need about 21 million vaccine doses weekly for us to get to the point where we can relax a bit. But in Nigeria, we hear that only about 4 million people have been fully vaccinated. And right now, we've run out of vaccines. Even those who want to be vaccinated cannot be. That is also to say that there are many who don't even want to be vaccinated, even though Dr. Funsho is telling us that the vaccination protects us. Why do you think people are reluctant to get vaccinated? Even when the vaccination is available, people don't come forward.
Well, the issue of the extent of your education is important, how well informed you are. There are also several conjectures that are not true. For instance, you see the one on social media where someone puts a magnet and then it says that after taking the jab, a metal can stick on my arm and all that. There are several conjectures that are not really true. I must also add that a lot of things are currently unclear about the virus, especially because we don't do very deep research. So typically, it would be wrong to continue to interpolate results that you get in the UK, where the constituents of the people there are different from what we are in terms of our origin, how far we have evolved, our level of immunogenicity and all that. These are some of the critical issues that government needs to address. If I were to direct policy, I will also be a bit more divergent in terms of where I get my vaccines from. At the risk of advertising, there are vaccines in Cuba that are also very efficient. So instead of depending on the one from the US or the UK and all that, I would think that approaching such other countries where they have capacity may be also very important at this time, so that the thing can go, more.
Doctor, apropos, I'm sure you heard that story when it broke, that the AstraZeneca that was shipped to Nigeria was lower standard than the one approved by the European Union.
Again, these are conjectures. Nobody has proof. And we must be careful, the way we propagate these things.
Well, let me ask Prof this same question, because it's one thing to believe something. People will believe what the information they have based on the information that is available to them at any given time. So, Prof, talking about educating people about the virus, as Dr. Shukefun has said, and the need for all of the preventive measures, the vaccines, the NPIs, and all of that. There is that huge challenge of adequate information and adequate education. Sometimes, as Dr. Shukefun has said, sometimes you react to a thing based on the amount of information or education available to you. The people in the rural areas, for instance, largely, rural communities all over the nation, irrespective of what region or geopolitical zone it is, I don't know how well they are open to receive these things, because it's only in the urban centers mostly that you find people taking any form of preventive measures. In the rural areas, even in the urban centers, you find that many people don't use masks and all of those things. In the rural areas, it's almost completely unavailable.
You're absolutely right, but the key is, how the transmission of the relevant health education, health information that can save life is passed. We had an experience in Nigeria, or experiences, not just one, especially with the polio eradication, the health education, health promotion, and really mobilizing the communities to accept your public health interventions is very, very important. And we saw that, take for instance polio. If you make a mistake with small misinformation, you are in big trouble. We all remember how, large part of the country rejected the vaccine, believed that it has some ulterior motives to reduce the population of either Muslims or some groups, etc., and so on and so forth. And also we saw how even some, in the south, some, communities rejected some immunization programs because they brought with it information that it could, reduce their population. So, but our experience with Ebola showed that Nigerians can easily be mobilized if the right information is passed. Yeah. I think the health promotion that was pursued during that period was very effective. Both urban and rural areas, if you remember the story of SALT and Ebola and how people, did everything that they had from the healthcare workers, all the public health and social measures that were, propagated were accepted by Nigerians, and, there was a huge victory, against that disease. We knocked it off quickly. In the case of, COVID, the unfortunate incident, or what happened that is affecting people accepting both COVID as a disease and vaccination as a tool to fight it, is that with the advent of the COVID infection, as reported, this, just the same period, we started having lots and lots of conspiracy theories that are diverting people's attention to say that, hey, listen, ignore the COVID, it's not real, it's a hoax, don't believe in it. And many people, not only in rural areas, unfortunately, even in the urban areas, were listening to such conspiracy theories that were affecting the effectiveness of the health promotion that is going on. So effective communication is so important. And also, particularly if the health team is communicating one information or the other, and then the political group, is promoting something as it happened in the US, where, at a stage, even the president of a nation was embracing a conspiracy theory and saying that, oh, this is not this is not that. Then secondly, thirdly, what affects how people accept, health promotion and health communication is seeing what is happening on ground. For instance, not long ago in India and other countries that are now experiencing third wave, if you advise them, to go for vaccination and all this, many people were rejecting. There's very high level of vaccine hesitancy among the population of India, Indonesia, Thailand, and Tunisia, but now, and South Africa. But now that third wave came in and they realized that, the cases were increasing, deaths were increasing again, come and see queues of people now accepting, to be vaccinated, rushing, and, trying to get themselves and their families vaccinated. So we usually say that, right or correct information, correct communication in public health is as important as vaccine. So you do it rightly, you get the right result.
Well, that challenge isn't just going to be wished away, because the concerns you raised from our historical antecedents are there. Do you think there is any way in which those antecedents are still playing out now? I mean, the polio example you mentioned, for instance.
Yes, the beauty is, even if they come, we could use the same method we used to really get people convinced. And take, for instance, the polio issue, where, they convinced so many Muslim groups that, the polio vaccine could sterilize their women, etc. But when we use the appropriate approach, to reach the people and mobilizing the Sultan and getting, him to immunize the children and all this, and it changed. And, people's perception changed and things really went this. I'm sure my brother, Funshaw, Dr. Funshaw will agree with me that that helped Nigeria a lot in being able to get that wild virus out of our country. If we're going to see same type of developments with the COVID, the public health establishment, led by the Federal Minister of Health, I'm sure will embrace new strategies again that can help. Already that is happening. We're very happy that at least during this pandemic, what we used to have before, that the leaders were not, leading the fight. This time around, the leaders are leading the fight. The governors are really, promoting, the public health response in their states. For instance, the FCT, we have the Minister of FCT that it doesn't even sleep. Every time he keeps asking, I hope we are doing the right thing to make sure that, this is not, going to devastate our state. Take, for instance, Lagos State Governor. He's doing so marvelously well that, it's like a governor and a public health officer at the same time. So we're proud of these people, and we at least we now have this, that we are not going to be afraid if such beliefs are coming. We'll be able to work with our traditional rulers, our leaders, our religious leaders to fight such a development.
Well, gratifying to know that at least someone of your status will say that a governor who is not a medical doctor is now a public health official. Maybe you give him a title to the effect. But we'll get to that point. Right now, we all know, we started by saying, we were talking about the local government elections. Some other people that want the jobs that the people of their various states and local governments will give them. Dari Idu, our correspondent, is somewhere in Ogun State. He'll be able to tell us a lot of things. So, Dari, how far so far? Where exactly are you right now, and what's the mood before and until now?
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, Igbore Agoba in Abeokuta South in Ogun State, where the election has started. Of course, we traveled in from Lagos, and I need to give you some background to what happened before we got here this morning. Traveling in from Lagos, of course, the restriction of movement, you can see it in full effect. Very scanty cars on the road, so it seemed a lot of people complied with the stay-at-home order, as the case may be. So as we were driving into Abeokuta, the state capital, we saw the presence of soldiers meters away from where they are. There are road safety officials, also the mounted roadblocks at different points into the state capital. So basically, there's a very huge restriction of movement. Just in the inner roads, you can see a little bit of activities going on, but largely people complied with that. And when it comes to the voting, as soon as we got here, the voting had not started. So the process is people go there to check their name. It's the normal routine with the election routine. People go there, check their names. Once they are able to see their name, then they come to this desk where there are two men seated at the moment. That is where the voting proper takes place. Once they are certified that their names are on the register, they get whatever they needed to do. Then the boxes there, one reads chairman, the other reads councillor. So if you're voting for a councillor of your choice, you would have thumbprinted, then drop it in the appropriate box. So it's pretty much a very simple process. Easy as Sunday morning. People are coming in, just voting, and we're walking away. Of course, it is expected, because this is a local government election. It's not always as busy as the presidential or the governorship election. That is the situation. The mood has been quite, I can say, really quiet. People walking in quietly, going on with the business and going away. That's pretty much the mood around here this morning.
Yeah, Dari, what has the turnout been like?
Can you repeat that? Can you say that again, please?
What has the turnout been like? Turnout.
Okay, so the turnout here.
Turnout, yes.
Where we are at the moment, I said Igbore Agoba. Pretty much, I can say that, just like I said, because it's not a very busy atmosphere here. So it's not the turnout that you will see on a general election. It's not the turnout that you see in the presidential or the governorship election. It's pretty much people checking their names, then going to this desk and voting. not a rowdy session. We haven't seen that much of a queue since we got here. The longest we've seen is 3-4 people on a queue at a time. So until we basically move away from where we are at the moment to also go check some other polling booths, it's hard to tell what the general turnout will be in this particular election. But where we are standing at the moment, we can tell you that, of course, people are voting quietly, peacefully, and they're hoping that the election will be free and fair at the end of the day.
Well, Dari, just a quick one before I let you go. It would seem like you are the only one using a mask around you there. And maybe except the polling officer, the electoral officers as well, it will seem like people are not even aware that there is a COVID-19 third wave in play.
I'm sorry, I can't hear the question.
Okay. Well, don't worry. Let's let you go right now, but I'm sure that we'll be able to get you back, you know, in time.
If I'm going to talk about the safety protocol, the COVID protocol around here,
yes,
it's nothing to write home about. Basically, a lot of the voting population around here the old, and from what we've observed, it's hard to see anyone wearing face mask. Pretty much, I can tell you that maybe the enlightenment or the education, voter education before now is not as apt as it should be, and almost everyone who walks around, they're walking without a face mask. So the COVID protocol may not really be in effect around here.
Well, Daredo, thank you very much. Most certainly we'll get more information from you as the day goes on. Daredo is our correspondent somewhere in some remote part of Ogun State right now. Well, Dr. Funshaw, in the course of doing all that you do, I'm pretty sure that you've had to move around a lot as well. Oh, by the way, could you quickly talk us through a video that you produced recently, you know, on the platform of Rotary International, just to understand exactly what the message is about and how are people supposed to react to it or act on it?
Well, you know, that video was in response to some of those conspiracy theories that Professor Nosidi, my very good friend, you know, alluded to. Because we're not communicating with all the facilities at our disposal. I'm talking about the government and all the other, you know, statutory players in the health sector. With all those resources at disposal, we're allowing a very small number of people, you know, to frustrate our efforts in getting people to come out and get vaccinated. And my message essentially, you know, is to encourage people to go and get vaccinated, because we know the virus itself, at the time I made the video, you know, has killed more than 3 million people. And the vaccine itself, at that point in time, there has been no credible information that the vaccine has killed a single individual. I made the video at the time when we were having this clotting thing, and there was a case in the United States that was still under investigation. And the point I was making is to debunk some of the conspiracy theories, you know, showing that vaccines work, and polio is a case in point. Africa was certified polio-free last year in August. By virtue of Nigeria, I haven't seen no case of polio for virtually 5 years. So we know vaccines work. We also know they are safe. And as Professor Nasidi, you know, alluded to, we need to communicate to people in the language they understand. We have the resources, but somehow, for me, it's very frustrating. Somehow, a very small group of people are able to frustrate our efforts to have a good public health intervention that ensures that majority of the population are covered. Traditional leadership in this country are a very vital channel of communicating, because one thing is to send messages out, but it's to send the message in the language they understand. You see, the conspiracy theorists are sending out frightening messages. You become a magnet you die after 2-3 years. People identified with that. Ebola was very dramatic in the way it presented. And people were afraid that if they contract the disease, they were going to die. So there was an element of fear, and whatever we do, we must find the language, and I'm not talking about English or Yoruba or Hausa, the kind of language and the medium people understand to get educated to protect themselves. I think we're not doing a very good job of that at the moment, and I think we need to invest a lot, in ensuring that we communicate to people in the language they understand, that will make them appreciate the need for them to protect themselves and the community in which they live.
Okay. Dr. Funsho, some of my friends have now resorted to double masking. Are they overdoing it, or is there double protection by doing that?
There's no really double protection by using, double masks. The important thing about masks is, to use them as sparingly as possible. I still maintain, the need for people to stay at home if they don't really need to go out. So the need for you to wear a mask is important. When you wear a mask for 4 to 6 hours continuously, it is a wise thing to change it. Double masks, you might as, get one of the P95s that has got filter in it, if you want to be sure of double protection. But the basic surgical mask is enough to protect you, because we don't want to put extra burden of cost, on people.
Well, perhaps that also, let me bring that to you, Dr. Shekefun. There are those who also fear asphyxiation. That if I use a mask, I'm not able to breathe well, and consequently, the mask, the face and nose mask, become chin masks, and in some cases they are completely removed. What do people do in that? What do they need to know, or is there anything they can do to make themselves feel better?
The normal 3-ply mask, allows you enough amount of oxygen to get into your system and all that. And this is important where you are in public places. If I'm in my room, for instance, I don't possibly need a mask. But if I'm going out to Mushi Market, for instance, or to Ingbo, and all that, where there are plenty of people and all that, I think I need to put it on. And there has been no major report of anybody possibly dying due to asphyxiation because the person is using the mask and all that. I've not seen any.
Well, maybe because people aren't using it for long enough.
Well, long enough is relative. Are you saying you are out all day and the mask has to be there and all that? I think it allows enough level of oxygen.
I'm trying to paint this picture so that at least people will know how safe and necessary it is. Because, for instance, for those who go to the office, they have to be in an 8-hour, on an 8-hour duty. But before they get to the office, they have to be in public buses, and on their way back, they have to be in public vehicles as well. So that's talking in the region of, say, 9-10 hours, depending on for how long.
I've not seen any report indicating that the person has passed on.
Okay, quickly, go ahead, sir.
Yes, it's just to remind us that, see, these face masks have been used, for decades and decades, in surgical theaters. And we all know that some surgeries go far beyond 5-6 hours. In some cases, surgeries have gone up to 10 hours, run by 2 or 3 or 4 sets of surgeons. And there has been no single report talking about asphyxiation and these people are working, on human beings. Now, if you had issues of asphyxiation which leads to low oxygen, which we call anoxia, you will have had reports of, surgeons fainting, on patients they're operating on. There has not been a single report of that.
Okay.
So it's just an excuse.
That's cheering, Dr. Funsho. That's cheering. But those doctors are in air-conditioned rooms. And but it's not the case for many people who have to wear masks to be in public vehicles and all of that. And just as you said, they breathe in the same air they breathe out. So when they are wearing the masks, it's just part of the education that you talked about that I'm trying for you to give us here.
Yeah, that's not true, really. They don't breathe in the air, they don't breathe out the air they breathe in, because those masks, they are permeable. They are not plastic.
Okay.
And they are designed in such a way that you can take air in through them and also exhale air through them as well.
Okay. So there's no excuse.
It will be impossible, to.
All right. So there's no excuse for anyone. No excuse for anyone to not wear the masks.
Exactly.
Okay. Dr. Shokefo, I wanted to take you up on this because, also based on some of the things that Dr. Funshaw was talking about the other time. Hitherto, when the NCDC wanted to put out information, they used Twitter, and that helped a lot. During the first wave and the second wave, people were able to access information readily. But it would seem like people can't even get any information now because there's a suspension of the activities of Twitter in Nigeria. Do you think that's in any way contributing to the fact that people are not able to get information?
That's not it. I mean, it's not contributing to it. 10% of Nigerians have access to Twitter. What happens to the remaining 90%? So Twitter or no Twitter, I mean, and I read in the papers from the Minister of Information saying that they didn't stop Nigerians from using Twitter. I don't know how far that is true, but I saw that in the papers.
Well,
so I mean, less than 5% of Nigerians have access to Twitter.
Okay.
About 30 million.
Yeah, the farmer in my village does
not have access to Twitter. Okay, Professor, before COVID, and I'm talking of around February, March last year, when COVID came upon us, and we were contemplating, okay, I mean, when it gets to Nigeria, we're all going to be dying like flies and all that. And then there was the lockdown, and we were not dying like flies. People then relaxed. Now, this Delta variant has come, and we are thinking again, maybe with this Delta variant, we're going to be dropping dead on the streets like flies. Is that a likelihood at all?
Well, that's a very tough question and very important question, because some people at the advent of the COVID outbreak or pandemic worldwide, forecasted that Africa and some other vulnerable countries will be most hit.
Yep.
And if we are not careful, people will be, falling and dying on the streets and so on and so forth. We came and saw the first wave, the second wave that hit African continent, and it looks as if, these first waves, this pandemic was, sparing Africa. So, to the extent that they were thinking, we started thinking maybe there's something that is protecting us in the continent, maybe either because we have younger population or we have thick skin, as some people are cracking jokes, and our hot weather, and so on and so forth. So also was India thinking. India was thinking, oh, no, look, the outbreak has come, we have vaccines. In fact, they manufacture vaccines, they do drugs, and they manufacture drugs against viruses and etc. So they felt they are a stronger nation, they will be able to weather the storm of COVID. And to the extent the leaders were saying, oh, we have done it well, we have overcome it in India, bye-bye COVID. Then Delta came in. Delta came into India, and we all saw what happened. It devastated India, and now the same Delta is devastating many other countries. It didn't come to Africa early. You can see what is happening in Indonesia, what is happening in even Malaysia now, and some other countries that are seriously affected. Then, when it's happening in India, we saw some people and how they are doing their cremation, their burial, and how it was virtually exponentially growing, to the extent that the whole nation, went into a state of fear. But nevertheless, they took courage and they did something. By the end of the day, they are recorded officially that 400,000 people died in India from that Delta attack. But non-officially, research by Indian people themselves has confirmed that, multiply that by 10. So maybe about 4 million Indians must have fallen under the hammer of this Delta variant, vicious variant. Sometimes about two months ago, it started knocking on the African door, started hitting South Africa. A South African second wave was going down, and they're already celebrating, and all of a sudden, they started seeing some peaks. And, you know, they have a very strong sequencing, molecular biology center in Durban. And they quickly, you know, analyze what is driving this wave that we are seeing. Is it the same virus or another variant? And they quickly confirmed that this third wave they are seeing in South Africa was actually driven not only by the lack of adherence, you know, or inconsistent adherence to public health and social measures, but that there's this new variant, Delta Plus, is the one that is driving this third wave. And as I'm talking to you now, about 26 countries in Africa are already infected. Why are we worried? And why is it that it is very possible we have very bad situation if we don't do what we're supposed to do? Is that within the last 2-3 weeks, the number of cases that have been recorded by the WHO African region for the African continent has increased by about 77%. In Nigeria, in the last 1 week, about 70%. In the last 1 week in Nigeria, about 77% increase was seen. And I think we're already seeing that we are going into another exponential period where the growth will be going up so fast. But to just remind us, not long ago, we saw what happened in Tunisia. The first region of Africa that the Delta came in was South Africa. Then it crippled, went slowly into East Africa, affected Zimbabwe, Zambia, and increased their frequency of attack by more than 10 times. Now, it came into West Africa. So, we thought still it would not be as overwhelming as it's now happening, and it entered Tunisia, and within 2 weeks, knocked off Tunisia's health system. Their health system collapsed. They needed oxygen they didn't have. They have to fly oxygen for them from a distance and so on and so forth. All hospitals were over-occupied. So many cases and deaths. As someone in Tunisia said, they have never seen that type of death in their entire history. So it's very possible that Africa could be hit more than we are thinking. So, and we should not, put down our guards and thinking that, it might not happen. So if I tell people, if people talk to me to say, hey, these people who predicted that people will be falling and die in Africa, shame on them, I said, yeah, maybe shame on them, but don't laugh at them yet. Don't laugh at them yet. Let us make sure that we prevent it, we stop it. The Delta has consolidated. It's already in 26 countries in Africa, including Nigeria, and it's hitting areas with big population and big entry points. Take, for instance, Lagos. Lagos has the largest airport in our country, the largest seaport, and very wide land borders. And of course, the population density is so high. So we pray this doesn't have a foothold on our population in Lagos. Amen. If you take, for instance, Kano, you have very densely populated group there, also population, state, and with a huge international airport also. So the Delta, the third wave that we're experiencing now is not yet slowing down, is growing fast, driven by Delta variant of the virus, which is now with us, and also our inconsistency in abiding by the public health and social measures that have been used. As Dr. Funsho said, whether you have been vaccinated or not, whether you know so much about COVID or not, do not forget the hand washing, the mask using, and social distancing. Okay. Unfortunately, in the last 2 months in Nigeria, we have experienced several super spreader activities that might make this to fuel, that might fuel this outbreak if you are not careful.
Okay.
Well, Prof, I heard you say something now that's a little. I heard you say something now that a little scary. Dr. Shukov, you heard him mention. I just heard Delta Plus, and then I heard 77%.
77%. Yes.
Now those are scary figures.
Well, there are controversies here and there. For instance, the Idel Malud, or what the recent Muslim festival, may also be a factor. Okay. People threw their guards to the wind. They had to go to the markets where rams are sold. Then we had parties that we didn't have masks and all that.
So those are the super spreader events.
Yeah, those are some of the things that, may contribute to the current increase in the incidences that we are seeing.
Okay.
The issue of what strain or species or, whether it's Delta or the thing that is also another controversy in that science has to resolve.
The consensus is that there is now a mutated version in Nigeria.
There's been several mutations, 5,000 so far recorded.
Okay.
5,000 mutations.
Yes, 5,000 mutations.
Just if you can just do this very quickly, because I know that we have just about 2 minutes.
Yes.
There are those who are concerned that the vaccine that is out, I think we've talked about this before, was to address the first strain. And now this is you said the 5,000.
There are 5,000 mutations in the genome of the spike protein that's been recorded.
Now, this one, you guys tell us it's the most deadly so far.
Yes.
Are you sure? Is there confirmation scientifically or whatever that this one, as deadly as it is, the first vaccine, is able to tackle it?
No vaccine is 100% efficient. So if a vaccine is 80% efficient, you need to vaccinate 60% of the population to really say, well, we have done it. Nobody is safe until everybody is safe. This is a general rule.
Okay.
And
Yes, where are we regarding the making of vaccines in Nigeria? I think I heard Professor Adeyeye say something about it not long ago.
That's a policy thing, but I think we should also pace up with that. If I needed to drive a Mercedes-Benz, I can fly to Germany and buy. But the vaccines are currently in very high demand all over the world. And you must, place an order and then wait for 2-3 months. So we must also step up our game in our being able to produce a vaccine in Nigeria. That's also very, very important. So that we are not dependent on, we have to wait until September when we can get enough and all that.
And we're still waiting for free vaccines, by the way, from COVAX. Dr. Funshaw, your parting shot on this. The third wave is here. What should we be doing to protect ourselves further?
Well, no matter what strain of the virus we have, we don't want to be infected by them. Predominantly, Delta is the predominant virus now that is constituting about 80% of cases. But then we still have, the original, virus. That also can infect you, can make you very sick, can kill you. So my message is, let us do what is available to us now. Let us protect ourselves from getting the virus from any infected person who may be showing symptoms or not showing symptoms by wearing our masks, staying away, from crowded environment as much as we can, observe, hand washing, and avoid gatherings.
Okay.
Then, when vaccines are available, take your vaccines. It protects you, but it does not protect you absolutely.
Okay. Thank you very much. Professor Nasidi, in 20 seconds, please.
Well, I would like to join the two previous speakers that we need a lot to do to help, but I think we should divide it into two. Everybody has his role. The masses should do and make sure that this disease is not yet gone. Please abide by the public health and social measures, the washing of hands and wearing masks, etc., and so on and so forth. And the government should double up. That is their own role, to go and get these vaccines. We shouldn't be waiting for the needed vaccines. And I'm happy Dr. Shemekun was saying, we cannot wait for 2, 3, 4 months. We're at zero vaccine situation. which shouldn't have happened. I think the public should do their part, the government should do their part. And that is to assure Nigerians that they will get these vaccines either through donation or procurement. I think that is the message. Thank you.
Dr. Shoke, from your own closing shot might be a little different. Just in the course of the week, we recorded more than 300 deaths from, we were told that there have been more than 300 deaths from cholera. And in 3 months, about 60 or thereabouts in maybe 1 or 2 states. What should we be doing?
Well, access to potable water is important. Cholera has to do with the state of the environmental health. Once there's access to potable water that is clean and is free of germs, there shouldn't be any outbreak of cholera. I think we still have a lot to do as a nation to secure our population from the many vagaries that we have around us. Cholera is just one of them. The COVID is another. There are several others that are not recorded, currently.
Dr. Olushola Shokefun, geneticist and lecturer, Department of Zoology and Environmental Biology, Lagos State University. Dr. Tunji Funsho, chairman of Nigeria National Polio Plus Committee of Rotary International, joined us via Zoom. And Professor Abdulsalami Nasidi, provost, College of Health Science, University of Africa, was in our studio in Abuja. Thank you all, gentlemen, for joining us to talk about this third wave. Sunrise will return in just a moment. Do remain with us.
Before, Generation Unlimited, Gen U, they also call it. It's a global multi-sector partnership aimed at supporting the more than 1.8 billion youth globally with relevant and future-proof skills, expected to connect them to entrepreneurship and employment opportunities. Of course, Nigeria cannot but jump on that ship, in a manner of speaking.
Assuming that they are educated.
Okay. They need to be educated to be part of this matter?
Looks like it, because I'm seeing internet there. You have to have some level of education to be able to use the internet.
Well, what all of that is about, you're just about to find out. We understand that Gen U, as they also call it, will be launched in Nigeria on Monday. That's in less than 2 days from now, by the Vice President in Abuja City. And of course, that's where our guest joins us from this morning. Peter Hawkins is UNICEF representative in Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mr. Hawkins.
Good morning, and it's great to be here. Thank you very much.
Yeah. First of all, let me begin from where my colleague, started. How much education do I need to take advantage of Gen U?
We don't need much. I mean, maybe you and I need a lot, but the young people don't need much. As your fellow reporter said, young people is natural. The digital world is very natural to them. And what we're saying here with Gen U Nigeria is Nigeria has 65 million young people from the age of 10 to 24 years old. And that untapped potential, that untapped skill base, if we can help that group of people learn and develop, but most importantly, help realize their aspirations, then Nigeria can go a long way. And what Generation Unlimited is trying to do is bring the sort of global platform to Nigeria, bringing together the private sector, the United Nations and the international community, the government in its different forms, but above all the young people themselves, so that they can engage, they can share what challenges they're faced with, but most importantly, what solutions they can bring to the table.
Mr. Hawkins, what I meant was at least they have to be able to read and write, if nothing else. So basic education is required, isn't it?
Absolutely, and as we discussed some weeks ago, there are issues around the quality of education and children coming through the primary school level.
Indeed.
But what the digital world offers is a jump into a different world, jump forward with your literacy, with your numeracy, being able to use technology to really access information, learn in different ways, in different places. I call it very often continuous learning, so that there are 24 hours a day, and we see them on phones, on screens, whether in the communities or at home, wherever it is available, to try and access information. That just purely by that fact, they will learn a lot. And what Generation Unlimited is trying to do is, one, expand the digital platform, both in terms of reach, but also, and critically, in terms of access. So school-to-school connectivity, community-based mobile data access points, so that, and then, with Microsoft and others bringing some of the content into the digital atmosphere, so that people can look and learn with some sort of results beyond literacy and numeracy.
Well, very quick one on this, Mr. Hawkins. There's some research figures I saw recently of how screens affect learning. Not very, very encouraging figures it was at the time. Is there any consideration along that line? That's on the one hand. On the other hand, are the natural distractions that come to young populations when they are using tools such as, the screens and stuff, because it's quite an adventure when they handle it?
No, absolutely. Everything's got to be done in moderation, and you can't spend 24 hours a day on a screen. But life skills are beyond just looking at the screens. It's also helping young people, communicate, negotiate, interact, and understand their own spatial environment and things like that. And those sort of life skills and those soft skills, if you want, for a better term, are an important part of what children can learn from the ages of 10 and beyond, and better equip them to be able to go into the job market. And I think what Generation Unlimited tries to do is develop the skills, the education, the skills on the one hand, identify what employment opportunity, entrepreneurship opportunities exist. And it's the connection between the two that is so critical. And there are incredible organizations like Joberman, obviously the International Labour Organization, who make that connection and the interface between employability and the skills, what skills are required for the jobs, and how we can develop those skills better for the young people.
Well, take us to the beginning of this idea, Mr. Hawkins. I understand that GenU Nigeria conducted a country investment agenda to help us identify opportunities that we have been missing, as a result of lack of, all of these conversations that we're having now, and consequently attempt to help the young people become better productive and better engaged students, both in the formal and informal sectors. What started that conversation in the first place? This happened last year, and it's supposed to be the year of the pandemic.
Absolutely, and it was a great year in many ways for Generation Unlimited. We undertook a diagnostics of all diagnostics, looking at where are the job opportunities, what are the skills that are required, and how can we explore that. And what comes across, and it'll be a no-brainer for many of your viewers, obviously the access to data and the digital technology was one of the most important areas. Secondly is the food chain, from production right through to processing, sale, and all the rest of it, where many different young people can engage at different parts of that food chain. There's obviously, there are very large companies in Nigeria which has a large market, Unilever and others, who are on board with Generation Unlimited and would look to help skill the workforce, but also absorb some of that workforce in the way that they work.
We're told that resulting from that research which you carried out, you carried out last year, you decided to focus on 3 interventions: digital connectivity, work readiness program with emphasis on apprenticeship, and then youth engagement and participation. Tell us what those are about in concrete terms, please.
Digital connectivity is about access to the digital platform, whether in communities, whether at school-to-school connectivity, or whether just sort of walking down the street as individuals. And the key there is that young people are adept at using technology, so it's helping them work from their strengths. Employability, entrepreneurship is obvious. Where are the job markets? What are the skills that are required? How can we engage with young people to develop those skills so that they can match with the job market? But I think your important point is the last one about youth engagement. And over the last year, in spite of the pandemic, Generation Unlimited's challenge funds have been able to engage 450,000 young people across the board. In actual fact, there was one challenge area where 5 teams from Lagos, 5 teams from Maiduguri were involved. Two, one from each, were taken up to the global level, and incredibly and very successfully, the Maiduguri team Street to School project won the Global Educational Award. It shows the versatility, the resilience and the adaptability of young Nigerians to be able to engage at a global level and succeed.
I'm intrigued by that, the team, what you said about the team from Maiduguri, because, I mean, one would have thought, internet connectivity in a place like that would probably be a problem. And talking about that digital connectivity as well, I see that you're talking about connecting every school and learner to the internet. That would greatly, help with the Safe School initiative one way or another. But tell us about that one. What exactly does that entail? And how far-reaching do you see it being within the shortest possible time?
There's a lot being done around the digital platform and digital connectivity. There are many people doing it. What Generation Unlimited is trying to do is enhance that so that young people, and the gap between that digital connectivity and young people is bridged. For us, school-to-school connectivity is one of the important areas, and we're looking at the moment in Lagos and in Kano, and that will expand to other states very, very quickly to use the private sector, the United Nations and international community's capacity, and governments, the basic from the government at state level, to really try and move that forward. The Ministry of Education is looking at content with the Learning Passport. There are other organizations globally and nationally like Microsoft which are looking at other content, training content that allows young people accessing data to be able to look at appropriate content to help skill their future.
Well, we understand also that GenU is talking about leveraging government structures for this project. So who and what structures of government are involved here?
Well, the key structures in terms of delivery will be the state government, and it's working with them and closely with them through education, through other youth commissioners and other bodies to try and enhance those platforms. But at a federal level, it's also with the Ministry of Education looking at the content part, the Learning Passports, as I said, which will be launched very soon, and bringing that into bear. But at a national level, it's also, Microsoft bring a global understanding of some of these training programs and how we can use the platform to multiply that effect, give it greater prominence where young people have access to the digital platform and able to access programs like that.
I'm talking about access. How do people, young population in particular, how do they come in? How do they get in to take advantage?
Well, we have something called U-Report, which I know we've discussed before with many of your listeners. 3.7 million people tap into that and engage on that, and that's a considerable amount. The Maiduguri team, adapted to data in the way that they worked during the pandemic, and that worked well. Where there are spots where data is less used, we've done research in other countries, and there's no reason why Nigeria shouldn't be the same. Where there's bandwidth, if you want, for a better term, where there's extra data and people are using less data, it generally means it's poorer families, and trying to use that extra capacity to give young people the sort of step up and access to data on a period basis and free, so that they can give themselves a leg up into the digital world.
Now, your goal is to empower 20 million young Nigerians by 2030. Isn't that rather ambitious?
I thought so, but when we discussed this just over a year ago, many of the partners were actually saying this is not ambitious enough and we need to talk about 40 million. But it's easier to go from 20 million up to 30 million, for example, rather than go from 40 million down to 30 million. So it's 1 million a year, whether it's about youth engagement or whether it's about employability, skills development, or access to the digital world. Yes, it is ambitious, but if you don't go to scale, then you'll never really achieve. And Nigeria is about going to scale. And I think the exciting part about this is the global Generation Unlimited, and the major companies at a global level are very interested to hear and be part of what is happening in Nigeria. And Nigeria has a lot to offer. If you take the Tony Elumelu Foundation, their entrepreneurship program, it's both in Nigeria and right across Africa. It makes a significant impact on young people and their ability to be able to fend for themselves and be able to develop and move forward, both for themselves and for their communities.
Well, it's gratifying that you started by saying that my colleague here will need a lot more education to use this technology than the young people. And I'm pretty sure she's ready to go to school right now. So, in other words, you are saying she is generation limited, and we are the generation unlimited, people like us. I want to thank you very much, Peter Hawkins, UNICEF representative in Nigeria. Thank you very much for being here, and all the best for all the work you're doing.
You're all very fantastic. Thank you very much indeed.
Okay, then. Well, don't forget that local government elections are still going on. And let's quickly take a quick one from Seun Okinbaloye. Alero talked about it the other time. That will be taking more update from him. So, Seun, how far so far? Where are you right now? Let me expect that there's a lot more activity all around you right now.
Very much higher. We are now at Shomolu in Onekpanu area, and just around me is Unit 9 of Onekpanu here. Just one information that is very interesting. This is another very densely populated area of Lagos, on the mainland in Lagos. And if you can see, just a few people who do business around this area are using the opportunity to do their work just about when people are finding opportunity to come and vote. From what we've been told, some of the officials officers whom we will talk to in a couple of minutes have told us how much of people are coming, whether or not the turnout is impressive. So, for example, the young man here who is a designer, he's using an opportunity to just get a few things done. And if you just look down, there are other people who are having their businesses done here, just taking the opportunity, lounging after they've had their votes cast. And the polling unit is just by them here, and they're just watching what is happening. Let me show you what is happening here at this polling unit. Of course, you can see the party agents are the one that we can see, and the police officers who have been here. Let me ask one of the polling officials who can tell us how it's been so far. Madam, how are you today?
Fine, thank you, sir.
On your register, how many voters are on the register in this polling unit?
Precisely, I can't answer that because I have not counted.
Based on the register, I understand just about between 800 and 1,000. But so far, how is the turnout?
It's okay, but I can't answer that yet until the final time.
Well, I mean, from what we understand, a few people, I mean, it took you almost an hour to about 9 o'clock before you set up. But what caused the delay?
I can't answer that. It's from the NFP. Let's say people you get to get that information from.
All right, thank you so much. She seems to be a bit reluctant in some of our responses, but from some of the information we have, there's been some issues with some of the ballots. Can I see one of your ballot paper? Is it possible to see one of your ballot papers? One of the political party YPP had been complaining that their political party logo is not on the ballot, and there's been some protests around town about that. You can see Accord logo, APC, PDP, and Youth Party logo. YPP has been complaining about omission of their logo on the ballot, and there are some of the updates that we have as of now. Peaceful in all of the places that we have visited so far on the Lagos mainland. This is Shomolu, Onekpanu. This is polling unit 009 in the Onekpanu area of Shomolu. But look, this is somewhat a friendly area. If you imagine what is happening around the inner roads in some of these areas, this is what you can see. Little or less traffic. People are just moving by foot and trying to do whatever businesses they want to do. And so, as you can see, just around the road, this is on the George Street, I understand. Down the road, as the eyes can see, people are just moving around and just trying to find one or two businesses to do. So, Ayo, that's as much as you can see and find just about 3 or 4 hours before the close of polls.
Well, one other issue that's that is something that I asked Dare, our colleague who went to Ogun State, is that of compliance with the protocols, in that environment. What kind of reactions have you seen of people, complying with the protocols, especially in the light of this, Delta variant that has been talked about?
Sorry, there seems to be some interruptions in communications. So if you can take that again, sorry.
Just a quick one about the Delta variant. I understand that people need to comply with the COVID protocols per the recommendation of State Independent Electoral Commission. What have you seen about that?
What we've seen so far, the Lagos State has the Neighborhood Security Corps, the Neighborhood Watch arm of the security in Lagos, and they've been moving around, and I've seen them. I've seen some of the police officers also telling those who have called at this polling unit to have their nose mask before they come here. You can see almost everybody that you can find, they are using their face mask. Whether or not they use it effectively, that's another question, but the issue is effective effectively. They're asking them, all of them have their face mask, whether or not they are applying it the way it should be. But we've been seeing situations where they've been told, move away and give yourself spaces. There's that consciousness. Whether or not people are effectively following it is another big question right here. There seems to be the dropping of the ball in terms of people's consciousness generally. But for this election, officials haven't been told that this is a very important aspect of this election. Face masks, social distancing, and all of the protocols are being adhered to and being followed. But if you can also watch, before you being attended to, you will have to get the hand sanitizer on your hand before you can get before you be attended to. That's one of the things that I've noticed here so far. When it comes to COVID-19 protocols, it's just as much as the officials can try. But again, on the other hand, from the voters, how much of the compliance is still something that people need to have that consciousness to. Ayo.
Well, thank you very much, Seun Wakinbaloye. I know you are still going to go to other places and bring us a fuller report later on, but thank you, and please keep safe as well. Well, that's that. If you haven't gotten out to go vote, it's a good time to do that right now.
You've got till 3 o'clock.
Yes, I mean, you have that little time, because it really isn't so much time anymore.
Well, we're down to the home stretch now, aren't we?
Oh, yes, we are. And you say it's a shame?
Well, that was a slip of tongue. It's actually a he.
But before we go there, I think there's someone wants to give you something. You need to take that off the camera.
Well, talking about Generation Unlimited. Sometimes you can tell who they are just by looking at them. Yes.
Sometimes I'm trying to imagine what the workplace is going to be, what it will look like in 10 years from now, 15 years from now. Red
braids,
hair, yellow hair.
Braids, dreadlocks.
I'm trying to imagine the president.
Bald on one side.
I'm trying to imagine what the president of the central bank would look like.
Jericho. Pardon me. Our artist of the week is Chisom Eze, popularly known as Rexy. I'm surprised they didn't say Rexy Boy. Rexy is behind many Nigerian hit songs. He has produced some of Nigeria's biggest songs, such as Slatan's Able God, which you were watching just now, Self-Made, and many others. The Anambra State-born music producer and multi-talented artist is a frequent collaborator with Slatan, Ibile, and Naira Marley. Hello, Chisom, how are you doing?
Hello, good day. Happy weekend.
I would like to see your face.
Okay.
Can you see me now?
No.
Okay, let's keep the conversation going. So, tell us the story. You know, who found who? You found music, or music found you?
We found ourselves.
There was a collision, right?
Yeah. I'm actually my mom's belly. Yes, I'm doing from there. Hitting everywhere.
What was that you said?
I tried from my mom's belly.
Oh.
Making music, I guess.
Oh. Okay.
I'm just joking.
You have to tell.
Okay, tell us the way it is. Tell us really what happened.
Okay, well, for me, it started from music production. Started from my secondary school. Well, I'm from church. I used to play in church. I used to play for my dad's church, praise and worship, all that kind of stuff. I was in the choir. Then in school,
in Lagos,
music band. There was a school. No, it was in Abuja.
Okay.
I schooled in GSS Gariki, Abuja. And there was this music band in my school, and I was like the music prefect. So we usually come out on assembly days, play and entertain the students, play popular trending songs. So from there, I got interested in how do these guys make this music actually, like how do they actually make this music? And I started researching, and from there, I moved to Lagos. Then when I came to Lagos, I came to study in Yaba Tech, to study printing technology. And I wasn't really feeling the course, and I was trying to find my way around, So I think I had to, my production started with a lie. I lied to my friends that I produced, and they were surprised, wanted to see me confirm it, and I had to walk towards it. That's how it all started for me.
So you lived the lie. The lie became true.
Actually,
was that supposed to be some kind of prophecy fulfilled?
Man, I don't know. It just clicked. Everything just clicked at the right time, because I had a fake beat that was not mine. Then I gave it to a friend of mine and lied that it was mine, just to find that acceptance by the society. When you're in school and nobody is looking at your side, So when I knew I can do it, just believe that I can do it. I can do this. Like, I make music in school, right? I make music in church, right? So it was like a challenge for me. When I got my system, I started working towards it. I went to school for like 2 weeks because of that, because I didn't have the confidence, So I had to work hard on it, and Lexi.
Okay, well, I guess that sounds like you eventually looked for music and you found it, or it was waiting for you somewhere. But there is one.
There was music and there was production. That's what I'm saying. Like, the music was there, but the production thing was what I found my way.
Okay. All right. Now, it's not a lie that you produced some popular beats, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not a lie, granted. So tell us the story. I just wanted to confirm. Okay, so tell us the story behind Zanku. I believe that you have that story.
Okay, Zanku started at the point of my life that was really, really rough. 2018, I had an accident. And the accident really made me quit music. Like, I was like, you know what? Let me stop music. I don't think it will be for me. Let me get into something else. And then during that period, I got a call from somebody in the music industry that, come and do something for me. It was a favor. It was not even a paid job. I felt like, let me do this for the person. It's all love. And when I went there, I got to meet Zlatan. And Zlatan was like, bro, do you have a beat for me? And I played one particular beat. That beat has always been in my system. I always told myself, once I get CDQ in the studio, I'll play this beat for him. But I didn't get the opportunity to see CDQ all those times. So I played it for Zlatan. And Zlatan was just the perfect person for that beat. His energy was just perfect. What he was saying was just perfect. And from there, we just got the vibe and started working from there. So all my plans to quit music just changed that particular moment. Like, this is it. I'm doing this. From there, we had Ebu God, we had Zanku, we had so many hits under that vibe, under that genre.
Just a quick one. What does Zanku mean, for God's sake?
Zanku means Zlatan, I beg, no kill us.
Christ.
Are you serious? Zlatan, I beg, no kill us.
Who came up with that?
Zanku.
Yeah.
Who came up with that?
Zlatan. He came up with that himself.
How did that come to be? What brought it up?
I don't know. It just means if you can bring something, you can do it, because you always wanted that thing to stick. And you're saying it, I'm saying, you're all saying it. So if you believe something, just push towards it. And something.
Okay.
That was what he meant. That was what Zanku meant. I beg no kill us.
It's okay.
Okay. Now, before you worked with Zlatan, who else had you worked with?
Before, around that period, I was working with the likes of Laita, Chinkwe, Kung, Olamide, those people from that area, those streets. angle. Yes, and that's when I got to meet Zlatan. I showed that guy from the streets.
Well, but by far your biggest is this one you did with Zlatan, right?
Well, yes, we have a lot of our names now. I did Soapy, I did KPK. That's my personal song. So yeah, there are more songs too.
But before you go too far, the one that is playing right now this one that's playing right now. Is this the beat that you're talking about? That you said that what's his name again? Zlatan was perfect for.
No, this is not the one. This is not the one. This was like this recent. It's an old song.
Oh wow.
This one's like the remix to it.
Oh really? Okay. How did the Zanku dance come to be then?
There's this leg walk, Zanku leg walk, where you're moving your legs and there's this. So it starts with the leg walk, and the likes of Bokoli and other dancers just do it up.
Well, we can't understand you,
because
Chisholm, we can't understand you. But I'm sure that the generation Unlimited can follow exactly what you're saying.
But really, let's talk about, how do you see, sincerely speaking now, as someone who has been operating in the industry for a little bit of time, how do you see the industry? Do you think there is a music industry? What do you think is missing? What do you think needs to be added?
Music industry has really been growing for where I met it and where it is now. It's just growing. It's just growing. Like, it's really, really growing. But I feel like it still needs more involvement, because it's growing. It's really lucrative. Like, we can't see. It's very clear. It's working, and it's a working industry. I just feel like if the government can actually just put an eye on that industry and see what they can do to make it more easy for these guys, more revenues to find talents from these creeks. I'll be surprised where this music can take the economy to, because it's really, really working, and it's clear that it's working. They are gaining so much acceptance from the international scene. There's a Grammy Award that just came in with the help of Burna Boy. So there's a lot. I believe the government can actually pay an attention to this entertainment thing and see how it can positively help the economy. Wow, it be a big thing for everybody. But music is growing every day. It's growing.
Now, Rexy, I'm sure there's some Generation Unlimited people listening to you now who would like to be like you tomorrow. What advice would you give them?
Believe in your craft, believe in what you do. If you dream about it, you can achieve it. So just keep working hard. Hard work never fails. So keep working hard, prayer, and God. Sky will be your limit.
Sky would be the limit.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, you. What can you tell us about that Grammy recognition?
Yeah, as being a Grammy-nominated producer, it was a lot. Now being a Grammy winner, it was even a lot more, because I started getting recognition from international scenes, different calls from international labels, different collaborations from international artists. The price just went up, and it was amazing from that peak moment. And big thanks to Burna Boy for such opportunity. Big thing.
Please back up a little. Did you just say that your price also just went up?
Oh yes, to like triple, four, boom, boom, boom.
Triple, four, five,
national recognition.
Is it also safe to say that your tax has gone up?
Yeah, I guess so.
It should follow.
But actually, because it actually follows, because when you're trying to get paid, which is always all we all see, is all written there, and Yeah. I don't. It's the government that hates that. So yeah.
You're saying all that very grudgingly. Rexy, you're saying that very grudgingly. The more money you make, the more you pay in taxes.
Yeah, that's how it is. Like,
That's how it is.
More money, the more tax. So,
Of course, more money, more tax.
Yeah.
Okay then, Rexy, we wish you all the best and keep us abreast your goings on, and we would like to hear about your successes.
And celebrate them.
After all, you are a Nigerian.
It's a pleasure.
Absolutely.
It's a pleasure.
Take care then, Rexy. Chisom Eze brings a close to sunrise for this day. I'm Alero Edu, wishing you a very happy weekend indeed. And don't forget, today is local government elections in Lagos and Ogun states. If you haven't voted, please go and do the needful so that you have a right to complain if the person you have elected is not doing the work that he's supposed to do. I wish you a happy weekend.
And also remember, the Delta variant of COVID-19 is still out there. Take all the precautions you can and you are advised to, because your life matters. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I'm Ayo Makinde.